Hello everyone, it's Tom Smith here, and it is time once again for our annual update on the Legends Cinematic Universe. We're a little bit behind because we did one at the beginning of 2019, but we didn't do one at the beginning of 2020. So I've been meaning to update this list in a while because a lot of things have changed and shifted and updated. So I'm just going to quickly try to go through all this, so that way you're up to date and you're able to kind of follow along what's been going on in the universe. So to start off with, in case you don't know, the Legends Cinematic Universe was a cinematic universe that a bunch of YouTubers created. We kind of came together with a bunch of our action spy characters and said, what if they all exist in the same universe? And there were effects from different films, there was a bit of crossover, mentionings, and that sort of things that are happening that's really affecting like the entire universe. So like one character could kill a character from an organization, so that organization then dissolves, but where did the people from the organization go? Well, they joined this group, and that's why this group's more powerful. You see a lot of examples of that in the later Lost Scene movies, especially the Lost Scene 5 Retribution. There's a lot of LCU references because it actually helped make the story a little bit stronger in explaining why everything was happening the way it was happening in that movie. So the more you know about the LCU, the more you're able to kind of appreciate, you know, just how the universe works. And so, obviously watching to the films, you kind of see all the connections and stuff. And we're hoping to post up more and more stuff so you can kind of understand everything about the universe. I want to keep growing it, making it more understandable where it's not just like guesswork. I'm trying to work right now on a website that will have like everything listed, timeline stuff, as much stuff as we're willing to post, because obviously certain things will not be posted because we're trying to not, you know, spoil everything. But obviously eventually I'd like to post up a nice timeline, bios and all the characters, so you can kind of get the understanding how the universe works, all the characters in it. But we will start with the first update, the first major update, the roster. We have divided up the roster now, because we've grown from the 10 heroes we had in the last video quite a bit from that, and so we decided to change up how we list them. So right now there is a list. There's the Legends. That's 5 characters. They have the most films, they have the largest series, they have the most influence on what happens inside the universe. And those are Philip Krieg, Edward Niven, Thomas Lund, Clank, and Jack Stone. Then you go down to the heroes list. These are other characters that have led films, some of them small little franchises, but a lot of them have either retired or not part of the universe or just starting out. So we've got William Tyler, Vin, John Soap, Sam Beckham, Ian Private, Sean Deakins, Miguel Groen, and Evan Roscoe has just recently joined the roster. His film just came out recently. Then there's also The Club, which has been made by Foxway Studios. The thing with The Club is, and you have seen a little bit of evidence of this in their film and in The Lost Scene 5, is that they're kind of separate. Both sides, the Club and the characters within the LCU, don't believe the other exists. So the Club does not believe like Jack Stone exists. They think, oh, he's just made up by MIX, that sort of thing. Whereas the Legends don't believe the Club actually exists. Like, they're not an actual real group. It's just a rumor that's been spread. I mean, you even see that in Lost Scene 5 when Polovich sees the file on the Club, he just laughs because he doesn't believe they actually exist. He thinks, wow, they think this is actually a thing. That was the whole point of that joke. But they are technically part of this universe. But don't expect any crossover anytime soon. Then there's also the precursors, which right now George Whitebrook is listed as the only precursor because he's the only one that's had his own films. However, there are others planned. There's Commander Adams, which is planned by DEP Films. We did encounter this character in the first George Whitebrook film, The Fourth Line. Glenn Harvey, who we've seen he is listed because he was in the lead scene of Blunt Dignity 2, but then he was made official canon in The Lost Scene 5. Retribution. He's a character he is planned to be the lead character in For the Uniform, which is set in 1997. Then there's other characters like Robert Johnson, who had a flashback scene in 1987 from the I, Private series. He's supposed to have been an agent for a long time, so he's technically listed. Stormbrand BS from Thomas Lund series, and Arthur Grayson, and stuff like that, and of course like Eric and stuff like that. Those kinds of characters. A lot of them, they're kind of on the slate to be precursors, but a lot of things can change here and there, depending on where the LCU goes. Now, speaking on the timeline, we've got the timeline here. It's been updated. You can see that the eras have changed. We now have the Origins era, which is basically all the events that happened before the earliest film. So our earliest event we know is the formation of the Knights of Mortis, which is in 1666. All the way up to the earliest film, which right now is George Whitebrook, The Fourth Line, but it will soon be Commander Adams, which is set in 1964. That begins the Precursors era. Then basically everything before the first Philip Creek film, which is set in 2007, is the Precursor era. So all these films, the George Whitebrook films, For the Uniform, and there's more being discussed and planned to be made by people. So the Precursors era is going to grow quite a bit. We're going to start seeing how certain things happen. There are characters that have been introduced which could end up becoming more precursor characters. I will say, for one, there is General Mirov Polovich. He showed up in The Lost Scene 5, Retribution, but he is actually more of a Precursors era villain. So we might see him in like For the Uniform and stuff like that. That is my plan with that character, is that he might show up in more of the films set in the 80s and the 90s as a villain. Overall, you can kind of follow the timeline. Obviously, it's not perfect if you watch them in the playlist, the timeline playlist. There's also the release order playlist, so you can just watch the films as they came out. If you watch the timeline, obviously there's some breaks here and there where it doesn't quite match up, because you got like The Lost Scene 3, its opening and ending scene are actually after The Lost Scene 2. You've got Lost Scene 4 Choices post-credit scene happens after the events of Thomas Lund 5, Brothers of Blood, and Tiebreaker's last scene happens after the events of The Lost Scene 5, even though the events of The Lost Scene 5 and Tiebreaker are basically happening at the exact same time. And then the post-credit scene of The Lost Scene 5 happens after that scene, Tiebreaker. So putting it all together, it would be interesting to see everything in full chronological order. That would be a tough video to put together, a very long video to put together, but eventually I'd love to discuss all the events on a video, to discuss everything, how it happened, in the order it happened. But outside of that, you got the release order. Yeah, as I said, here it is. Even the canceled films that never got made. You can see we made 10 movies in the LCU. There was Cold Fusion, George Whitebrook, The Fourth Line, Jack Stone Classified, Bound by Blood, Wolf, Thomas Lund Story, The Club, Agent 07, Cut the Chase, George Whitebrook, Rainmaker, Evan Roscoe, First Assignment, Lost Scene 5, Retribution, and finally Jack Stone Classified, Knightfall. 10 films in 2020, so let's just hope 2021 could be just as good for the LCU. That would be great. And of course we got all our series. You can see just how much everything has been kind of divided up. Foxway Studios now has their own universe because they got enough heroes. They got 3. I mean, The Lost Scene has 2 with Edward Niven and Sean Deakins. But there's been a lot going on inside the LCU. I mean, you can see, each one of these pictures really shows just how expansive this universe is. And really, outside of that, that's the big stuff right there. Like I said, I want to try to build up some more stuff. We got our Facebook page, which you can check out. Feel free to ask us any questions. Let us know what films you really like. Let us know what characters you really like. What else you'd like to see in the universe. We love the feedback all of us guys are really trying to keep building this universe up. Hopefully I can get the website going good. That'd be great if you guys do enjoy seeing some of the nuances and how it's been built. I mean, we can look at the fact that Evan Roscoe is the first hero to be introduced inside the Mortis era. All the others, I mean, you got the precursors introduced in the precursor era, obviously, but you got everyone else introduced in the Legends era. Evan Roscoe represents kind of almost the future. I mean, his film is the furthest film we've gotten in the timeline so far at the end of 2020. We have a few films coming out here and there, kind of helping tie up the loose end of the stories. The Legends era is almost complete. Like, there's not a whole lot more films we can throw into that era. It's pretty well covered. 2007 to 2020 is pretty well covered with a lot of characters. But there are a few films here and there which will be exciting to see. And I like the idea that the Legends era begins with Phillip Krieg and ends with Phillip Krieg, because I really want Point of Contention to be the last film in that era before the Mortis era starts with Thomas Lund 6, Knights of Mortis. I think that'd be kind of a nice bookends. I really don't want there to ever be a Legends film that begins before Agent 07 Against All Odds. I think that's just kind of a nice way of honoring the first film. I mean, Against All Odds is the re-edit of Now or Never and a lot of the early Phillip Krieg films, so I think it's only best to just kind of leave that one alone. But yeah, we've had a lot of characters, and they all have a lot of different backstories and histories, and the universe just continues to grow and keep seeing more and more connections, and I think it's really cool. So I hope you continue to watch it. I hope this video helped explain a few things, to show you how we're going, where it's going, what our plans are. I really hope when I do this video again in 2021 that we've really gone even farther than we have right now. So yeah, continue to watch. Of course, got the nice little trailer out that kind of shows the first 15 years. I mean, over 60 films. I think we're up to like 64 or something. 63, 64 films. It's really cool for 15 years of films to get to this point. It's been pretty awesome. So, hope you all enjoyed that video. Hope it helped explain. Enjoy the LCU. And yeah, feel free to comment and tell us what's up, what you think, any thoughts you might have, any questions you guys have about the universe. I would love to answer them. So, yeah, enjoy the Legends Cinematic Universe, and we'll see you next year. Take care.